Now it'd be fair to say that this stuff, the yellow peril, is one of the most effective fish catchers around. It catches fish all over the world, no matter what species you're targeting, sweet corn will catch it. I hate the stuff. I cannot stand sweet corn. There's every other bait available that I would rather fish than sweet corn. Pellets, meat, maggots, casters, paste, worms, you name it. They all come above corn when it comes to bait choice for me. My confidence is like less than 0 when it comes to corn. I don't know what it is, I just don't get it. I get that in the winter that it's a nice visible offering, and I've caught loads of fish on like bomb and corn, that kind of thing, or waggler and corn. But when it comes to warmer months, it's just not the bait for me. I don't know. I just can't get my head around it. That being said, there's loads of fish on my local circuit getting caught on corn at the minute, and I just keep getting beat by anglers clunking a few tins open and using it in the margins and on the short pole. So I thought I'd come here today to work on my corn fishing. I've got 3 tins in a bait tub, I've got nothing else, and I'm gonna work out, along with you guys, how to get the most from this brilliant bait, even if I hate it. So the bait itself is just F1 corn, straight out of the tin. I've washed off all the sticky stuff, don't like that. And let's talk about why corn might be a good option. Firstly, it's the visibility factor. It's lovely and bright, so especially in the winter, it's a brilliant option because obviously the fish can see it. In the summer, the fish can eat loads of it. It's got that lovely sweet taste to it. The fish can eat loads of it without necessarily getting full. It's salad at the end of the day, and the fish treat it such, and they can get through loads of it. There's some venues like the Glebe, venues like that where you can feed like 10, 12 tins in a match quite easily, and I can see why, because the fish eat it so confidently. Another great thing that it does is makes a great noise. So if I just throw in 7 or 8 grains there, it makes a great noise, a lovely plop, almost like 8mm pellets, maybe 6, 8mm pellets. That noise is so attractive to fish that there's no reason why that won't attract them, just like pellets do. So there's no reason why I shouldn't like it really, because it does everything that I want it to do in terms of noise. It's visible, fish can eat plenty of it, you can feed lots of it. It should be a bait that I like, but I just, like I say, I've got no confidence in it. But like I say, I've got 3 tins in there, and the rig that I've prepared for today to fish corn is a bit of a different sort of margin rig really. Now we're coming into October, even though I've got my t-shirt on, it was a horrible morning, really cold, and the sun's just come out for the afternoon, so been quite lucky really with the weather. But trust me, the fish are starting to slow down. We're probably going to catch plenty of fish today because it's a great venue. There's some great fish to be caught here. But I've got to say, things are definitely on the slowdown. So my rig kind of reflects that. Now, this is a funny peg because it's quite shallow in the margin. There's no like, it's not one of those pegs where you can get 20 inches of depth tight up against a bank. I actually drew this peg recently and it did my head in. It's really shallow in the edge, like inches deep. And it's very, very gradual slope off. It needs a totally different approach than just a bulk down trap setting sort of approach. And that might be to the corn's favour really, because I can throw some bait in and maybe create a bit of an area to fish over, and my rig kind of reflects that. So I've got a 4x10 Fury, nice and light, and I've got 3 number 10s down the line. I've got a little one under my float, and then I've got some back shots. The reason I've got this is because I'm fully intent to flick my rig out past the feed, so the fish on this lake come along the edge, they don't come out in the deep water. I found they sort of creep up on you down the bank, and because of this rig I can flick it out past, let it come in under my pole tip, and I'm still tight to it. So that's why I've gone for this. It's exactly 20 inches deep down there. Like I say, 24 inches would probably be better at this time of year, but I haven't really, 24 inches on this peg is way out from the bank, and I don't really want to fish there. I still want to use the cover that these sort of reeds and stuff give me. So that's it. I've got that lovely 4x10 Fury. It's dotted right down. I've still got green zip on because at the end of the day we're still trying to catch big fish, and because it's nearly October, the fish are gonna come in the edge really late anyway, so we've kind of got to make the most of that time. So the tackle is still strong. I've got 0.16 hook length, I've got 0.20 main line, I've got green zip. Importantly, I've got a toss pot on the end, a nice positive toss pot that allows me to put plenty of bait in. I think I'm going to be able to feed plenty of corn. Like I say, I've got other than in the spring and the winter, I don't use corn at all, so I'm just sort of feeling it out really. I don't know whether I'm going to get through all of my bait. I don't know whether I'm just going to be cupping in 6 grains, but we're going to suss that out as we fish really. I'm going to fish nice and close to me. It's got, like I say, I've got some lovely sort of reeds to my right. I can't go too far along the bank, and I know that the fish, even though it is coming later in the year, they are going to come quite close to me. So I'm just going to fish a top kit and one section on. It's just the place to fish on this lake. I just know it from previous experience. And I think I've got the option to fish both sides, but I think to start with, I'm just going to fish down one side. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Before readjusting my camera, I'm going to pot in some bait. Now I've just got the smaller of the cupping kit sort of pots on there. And I think I'm just going to go in with like 30 grains of corn. I think that's a nice amount to kick off with. We'll pop that in. I'm going to be nice and accurate. I've got my little camera down there as well. And I've sort of picked myself a spot, kind of in front of the camera really, just there. So it's a little bit off the bank, probably a metre off the bank. It's a nice gradual slope, and I think that's going to be a lovely spot to fish. So without further ado, let's get the camera into position. I'm going to have a quick wee, get myself a brew, and we'll see if I can get over this little lack of confidence, shall we say, in the yellow pebble. Okay, so let's see if we can get over my irrational fear of using sweet corn, because it is actually irrational, because I know it's a great bait, and I don't really know why I have such negative vibes around it really. I think it's just a culmination of years of using other baits, and I don't know, it just fills me with dread every time the word corn is mentioned. So I'm just going to go in quite a decent amount. Now you may be thinking, that's an old pole pot, Joe. Well, because I cut my top kits back quite a long way, the modern sort of soft pots have a nasty habit of pinging off my pole when I'm fishing. And I found some old toss pots in my shed, that fit on my pole lovely. And I put the bat signal up on Facebook the other week, and I've had an angler come and see me at a match and bring me some, and the match organiser also brought me some. Now if anyone has any of the old toss pots, they've got to be the 7mm ones, let me know and I'll buy them off you, because they fit my pole lovely. And I used to think they were heavy and cumbersome, but actually they feel great compared to the modern pots that are very, very sort of heavy nowadays really. Now, I'm just going to pop that corn in from a bit of a height actually, because I think it's quite attractive, isn't it, that you've got a bit of weight. Now what I'm doing, I'm just holding my float out, letting it swing up against that slope, and then dropping it into position. I say it's a gradual slope from the bank out. There's no signs of any fish down there just yet, but that doesn't mean a lot on the little touch there straight away. Now that doesn't mean a lot on this venue, because like I say, they sort of sneak up on you sometimes. They've got two modes here, going ballistic and tailing up everywhere, or sneaking along the bank. It may be that they just sneak up on me today. And I've just got to sort of say about the recent films and stuff we've been doing. We've been doing a lot of stuff on the Nufish channel, which has been going really well, very popular. So that's been thanks to everyone who's taken the time to go and check that out, subscribed, and then obviously my channel keeps going from strength to strength with all you guys watching the films that we're doing. I really, can't thank you all enough for putting the extra effort in and getting a lot of you guys watching. So if you have any ideas, get them in the comments below and we'll see what we can do. Amazingly, only 30% of the people watching are subscribed. Now I know it's a bit of a faff on the telly to subscribe, but if you do watch on a phone or a laptop, think about subscribing, because it's totally free, and it really helps getting the videos out there to a wider audience. So now nothing's really happened. Now this is corn fishing all over to me. Not a lot happening. We potted that bait in. It's quite late in the day, so I'd expect positive signs here. I'm not going to throw any bait just yet. I'm going to leave that trick up our sleeve. A bit of a wobble there. just going to flick the rig out again, down the slope. With corn being such a visual bait, sometimes you do catch them sort of flicking the rig around a little bit, sort of catching their eye, as it were. Oh. Might bite then. So what I'm doing, feed again, because I'm that kind of guy. I've just gone with single corn on the hook, and because we're starting, I'm just going to feed again. Again, I'm going to drop my bait in. I definitely had a bite that time though, which is positive. Corn. And that bite was after I flicked the rig out, so you never know. Oh. Now we know they're eating corn because they've not put anything else down there. There's no micros or anything. So I feel like we just got to suss it. Maybe I need to fish double corn. Let's just feed another little consignment. So what was that, like 3 or 4 feeds now without a fish? Flick that rig out. So past the pole tip really. Thinking being that we intercept them as they come in, but to be fair, at the moment they're sort of coming in. What seems to happen is 2 or 3 come in at a little time and then boil about a little bit, and we haven't caught one yet, but oh, there we go. That didn't take too long, did it? Yeah, what seems to be happening is they're coming in little groups of 3 and 4, I'd say. That one snuck up the bank and never even knew it was there. So we've still got, like I say, we've got decent tackle on. We're not messing about too much. We've still got green zip on. We've still got, you know, decent line on, 16 hook. 14 hook actually. There we go. First one of the session. First one on the kernel. Nice fish as well. Give yourself for that one. £5. There you go, son. Lovely. Victory brew, we finally caught a fish on the kernel. Right, what we're going to do, let's go again. That's one thing I did like about that. It was very, the bite was very positive. And I guess it often is when you've got a bait that's got some weight to it, like corn has, 8mm pellets has, you often get really positive bites. And that definitely was one of them. So let's try that again. See how long it takes for another one to come in. Oh, there's one there. Like I say, interestingly, I flicked that corn well past my pole tip that time. So hopefully that might be the answer. The fish that's here actually is this side of the pole tip. It's one of those places, this is, that sometimes when you can see them, it's the worst thing because they're getting into places where you can't necessarily fish for them. And just wait, be patient. That fish was £5. You know, you don't need loads of them. Oh, that was a lovely bite again. That's an F1, that one. And it's just spooked a carp at the back that was really big. Oh, it's a nice F1 there. Look at that. Whew, look at the size of him. Look at him, absolute beauty, look. 3 and a bit pound, I'd say. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Right. Well, actually, this is going quite nice. Picking a nice big piece out. And I'm just nicking the bait on, really. I'm not burying the hook or anything like that. I'm just like nicking the bait on, really. So there's plenty of hook showing. It's quite a firm bait, isn't it, corn? And last thing you want is to, you know, impede the hook coming out of the bait and into the fish's mouth, so we'll try that again. Lovely F1. So that's 2 times we've had a lovely clean bite, and that's twice where we flicked the rig past the pole tip. You may wonder why I've chose to fish this way and not to my left. It's the same depth on both actually, very shallow and then a very gradual slope out. And it's more previous experience. I've been on this peg twice before and the fish have definitely come from the corner rather than out of the lake. So it's just a bit of previous experience. I know that the fish sort of come, they must come at, through from the next peg's a corner peg, and I know the fish come along this bank, so that for some reason that side just seems a little bit slower. I'm not sure why. Now I do wonder if I put some micros in, if I'd get a much more positive response, and I am tempted to put a few micros in, but I do want to stick with the corn. I think if I was in a match I'd probably put a few micros in as well, just to pull a few fish in. Micros and corn is a good combination. Hemp and corn is a good combination. Classic combination if you like. So them fish, I reckon, have cleaned me out because they've come in, 3 of them, eaten the bait and buggered off. Very unsporting. Now, there's no doubt I would catch more if I fished further along the bank, but I was a little bit limited to getting me GoPro in actually because of the reeds. I couldn't actually get any further along the bank, so I do think if I could fish maybe one more section on, fish might be a bit more confident, but it's not to worry. I'm sure we'll catch another one before the rain comes. It's a lovely simple bait to use though, isn't it? Clean, providing you wash it off in the, I just put it in my fine mesh landing net and rinse it off so you don't get none of that sticky corn sort of juice on your hands. Lovely clean bait. Convenient, comes in a can. See why people like it. But I dare say, if I was throwing pellets in here, I'd be getting more of a response. Even though this makes such a lovely noise, I know these fish are so tuned into pellets that, to be fair, throwing the bait in hasn't actually seemed to get much of a response. I thought it would, but it hasn't. Right, I'm going to have a rethink, and I'm going to come back in a minute with a new bait menu because I'm just not happy with how many fish are coming in. It just doesn't seem to be having, the corn, as is always the case for me, just doesn't seem to have the pulling power. Like I'm throwing bait in, nothing's happening. I'm potting my bait in, not a lot's really happening. I've caught a carp and an F1. I feel like I should be catching more. And I reckon if I come up with a little concoction, still use corn on the hook of course, maybe I can come up with the goods. So we'll do that. I'll come up with some sort of, there's carp everywhere this side. I haven't even fed anything. I'll come up with a little concoction and we'll see if that improves the catch rate. Right, I'll show you what I've gone with. Just gone in the van and found some red ground bait, that's all I had. And I've slopped it up, made a stodgy sort of pasty, corny something. It's quite smart, strong smelling ground bait to be fair. I think that, never know, might get us a fish or two. Might be a bit more attractive than corn alone, so let's give that a try. Okay, so I'm not gonna go mad, I'm just gonna put a blob of bait in. Let's see if this has a bit more of a pulling power than what we was feeding before, because this just normal corn, I just didn't, I don't know, just didn't feel like it was doing anything. maybe a bit of ground bait, a bit of extra smell in the water. It's really quite sticky, that ground bait. And it might just pull a few fish in. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly take the lid off that pot. So I'm just going to accurately pot in. See, I've just potted that blob of ground bait in with a few bits of corn in, and there's fish all over it straight away. Just blows my mind how that happens. So, like, you've just seen it real time. The corn on its own wasn't pulling anything in. Now I'm just gonna pot in that. It's almost like paste, I suppose. I'm gonna pop that in and then flick my rig slightly past it before this rain comes. Like that. And flick my rig beyond it. Slightly down the slope. And let's see if that has the desired effect. Than just feeding corn did, because no clean bite though. Fully expected that to go straight under, I've got to be honest. We've got no build up of bait or anything down there. Ooh. I had a bite though. I bet as soon as my pole's not in the peg, one will come in. I bet you. It's lovely that. Like a really firm paste almost. Look, they're all over it. As soon as my pole's not there, they're all over it like a rash. Oh. There's a huge carp to the left of my float. Oh, this peg does my head in. Because it's so shallow for so far from the bank, they just come and tail up where there's no bait. That one's tailing up 2 metres from the bank. Because it's such a shallow sort of margin. Good old corn. Never lets me down to be rubbish. Wait. We got one. Now, the difference between just feeding corn and that little bit of ground bait is quite vast. Have a look at that. Oh, don't go over there. Where's he going? Yeah, it's quite vast actually. There's lost him. Right, so let's get back in with that, because that came off. That was foul hooked. Didn't look foul hooked at first, but it must have been because I come back with a scale. Yeah, the difference between the two so far is quite vast, in that just corn was bringing very few fish in, and now the ground bait is definitely bringing a lot more fish in into the job. A quick bite. It's kind of how I want it. How that had just happened then, like a little big fast dinkaroo bite. That's how I want it. I'm feeding that quite wet, that ground bait, almost like a paste, I suppose. I feel like I need a bit of help pulling the fish, because leaf it out. Because it's calm, autumn, they're not coming to the noise of me throwing the bait in. We've already realised that. I think they need a lot of help to pull them in, and I think that a bit of wet, cloudy ground bait might just pull me some fish in, and it seems to have worked because there's fish now that, I'm not going to say they're everywhere, but they're coming in higher numbers now. We just haven't quite pinpointed how to catch them yet. So putting ground bait in has changed the session really. And I know we know this, we know that the fish come into ground bait, but this is just so typical of my experience of a nice F1. My experience of fishing with sweet corn on its own. I just don't ever feel like it has any pulling power. Nice F1. Yeah, I just don't know if it's got the pulling power that I need. We'll go in again at that depth. Just see if we can really get to terms with this, because there's clearly a lot of fish about. And they're hard to catch, but they're coming in. And it may be that next chuck I'll go into 18 inches of water. That might just be better, because it gets me closer to them reeds, which is a bit of cover. I must say, normally, when you're fishing like this, when your pole's away, like when I'm playing that fish, there's normally carp in and around the area, but there isn't today. So I don't think there's loads of fish down here. And it is, like I say, on the cusp of being October, so it's out. Certainly know that ground bait's there though. There's one there at the back. Whoa, that was lovely. This is one thing I will say. I kind of feel like that I don't really want to go in any shallower water than this. Just experience has taught me that when it's calm here, going to shallow water can be a bit of a false hope, if you like. As in, sometimes you're chasing shadows a little bit. Because I think a lot of the fish that are tailing and stuff are actually big F1s, and they don't like being in that shallow water, because that's a lovely F1. Wow, it's definitely pulled them guys in anyway. Okay, big F1s. Look at that. Getting big in these lakes, I'll tell you. Lovely. Well, I think we're getting somewhere now. This sloppy, stodgy corn mix is quite nice. Of course, there's no reason why it shouldn't be. Nice to catch a couple of carp though, just to finish the video off. I'm just potting it in from a little bit of a height actually, and making a bit of a splat. Like I say, I mentioned before I caught that fish that I feel like I need every trick in the book to pull some fish at the moment, because of the lack of wind. It's so calm down there. I think that they need a bit of help coming in. Another F1 might be. It's definitely better though. Definitely better since I've put that ground bait in. Whoa, another big F1. Maybe it's because these fish are in my peg and Not so many carp at the moment. Of course, another big F1. My little footballs there. Top lip. 10 out of 10. Masterful display of F1. Look at that. They're beauties, aren't they? So fat. Right, what I'm going to do, in for a penny, in for a pound, I'm going to big pot it. I'm going to pour myself another cup of tea, and we're going to come back in a few minutes and see the result of the big pot. If we can end on a carp, that would be absolutely sensational. So we're going to put a pot full of ground bait in, like that. We're going to readjust the camera and then see what we can catch. Right, so we've had those F1s, we've had those one carp, we've had those nice F1s, and I'm just trying to think of a way of singling out these carp. Now what I've done, I've just plumbed up into slightly shallower water, but more importantly I'm up against some reeds. The fish definitely seem not comfortable, but they are coming up into slightly shallower water than what I would have expected, given that we're almost in October. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and single out a carp or two that are going in that ever so slightly shallower water up against the reeds. Now it's quite nice because I can be a little bit more accurate now because I'm up against something almost. I'm not just in the middle of nowhere like I was before. So I might be able to be a bit more accurate and the fish can't get behind me so much. So it might be a better fit all round. So I've just got the same rig, I just took a bit of depth off and just put some bait in and just see what happens. Now, got to be honest, the fish, like I say, with corn alone, these fish haven't come in at all. Not in any numbers. The ground bait is definitely pulling a few fish in though. And it's just a case of me working out how best to catch them. I feel like being patient in slightly shallower water, more up against something, could be the answer. So let's give it a go. Let's give it a whirl. We're trying to have a big finish on bait carp rather than F1s, so that's the plan. Just pull that up there like that. I can hide my bait a little bit better here as well. I can get my pole out the way a little bit. So it's bright, it's calm, it's feeling a bit cold. Like I say, I'm put my jumper on. And maybe they're sort of, I can just single out a carp or two. Tiny dink on my float then. Bite. Now, one thing I'm thinking is, I wonder if my bristle's too fat, especially for them F1s. Maybe you know, something a bit thinner might be better. So maybe next time a cypri would be better. Even though I've got my Fury dotted down, it has got a fat tip and a lot of little stabs on the float, which could well be F1s. And we've seen the size of them, £3 plus. It'd be nice to catch them, wouldn't it? And there's a few carp coming in now. Like I say, I think it's possibly because I haven't got keep nets in. Obviously the keep nets normally would stop them coming from me. They'd only come from that way. Because I haven't got any keep nets in the water, they can happily come from here because they're just confident. Whoa, yes. That is in the mouth. That change into the shallower water. That's a great big unit, that is. Maybe that's just going to work lovely. It just shows you sometimes, doesn't it? As always, I've got that extra bit of elastic in my pole. By using the bead, I have that extra 6 inches, which gets you so much further, you know, gets you that bit of extra cushion when you hook a great big unit like this one. It allows it to swim off. I mean, that's massive. Didn't even see him in the peg. That's how crazy this game is. Wasn't even there as far as I was concerned, especially like this is a £10 fish. Didn't even know he was here. I get him out, it's the perfect one to end on, really. And like I say, moving into that slightly shallower water has paid off. We've managed to single out. There's carp coming in all the time now, which there wasn't before. I might even try and catch another one, you know. The bite was great. It was just a lovely little dink, little stab on the float. They haven't been easy to catch though. We've had to make a few tweaks to get going on the kernel. But perhaps as a hook bait and mixed in with a bit of ground bait, like I say, I think that could be stodgy micros. It could be. Oh, he's going. Big fish this. Yeah, because you know we're mixing up a stodgy ground bait mix. I think that could be ground bait, but it could be micro. Sorry, but I do like a bit of. I do like ground baiting with peg a little bit. You can see how the pulling power is amazing. Oh, he's a big one. Yeah, he's that one of them big ghosts. There's another mirror following him in. Would you believe it? There's a handful of really big ghosts in this lake. I remember when we netted it years ago. They were in here then. They're still in here now. And it might be one that I've caught several times before, this one. Yeah, I've caught him before. Nice to see him. The big girl. The big girl is here. I've caught this one many a time actually. Oh, hook's come out in the net, would you believe it? Yeah, it's a real big ghosty double figure fish. Look at that beast. As they get ready for winter, they get nice and fat. And that is a cracking fish to end on. I'm probably going to have another go off camera, because why wouldn't I? But that has changed the session. Putting some ground bait in has absolutely transformed the session. That little bit of ground bait, not a lot. I'm just feeding those sort of sticky blobs of ground bait, I suppose you could call them. They're like really sticky ground bait. It's getting it nice to the bottom, and it's allowing me to catch great fish like that. And just moving up into the shallower water has allowed me to sort of single out a carp or two. So thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you again on the next video.